Well, and also you've got Alan Moore on board.
We do.
So how did you manage that? You got this. You got League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You got Lost Girls.
And From Hell.
Yeah. From Hell.
As well as his novel Voice of the Fire. So our relationship with Alan Moore goes back quite a ways. It actually kind of goes through Eddie Campbell, who's one of my all-time favorite creators. He was the artist on From Hell with Alan Moore. He's also a fantastic writer and cartoonist. His autobiographical comics called Alec are available in a huge 640-page omnibus called Alec, The Years Have Pants, which may be the graphic novel that you read that's most likely to change the way you look at life. It's just really full of wisdom and insight and, you know, everything from getting drunk and waking up on somebody's floor the next morning to trying to date a teenage girl and her mother at the same time, to raising a family, to, you know, his whole sort of rise and fall and the graphic novel movement that sort of flowered in the late 80s and early 90s, and the way it came crashing down. And it's full of like juicy, gossipy anecdotes about Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman and Eddie and all these other famous cartoonists that they were involved with. It's just a really rich book, full of the kind of humanity that really makes top shelf books stand out. So we've been working with Eddie for years and years and years. That's actually sort of the reason Chris Staros got into publishing, was to be Eddie's agent in the U.S. And then when we were negotiating with Eddie and Alan about possibly taking over the publication of From Hell, then we really started to develop this close friendship and relationship with Alan Moore, and we've published several of his projects. A poem called The Mirror of Love that we did in a sort of deluxe hardcover edition with photos by Jose Villarrubia. His novel Voice of the Fire. Lost Girls was one of the more famous books we've ever published. We sort of risked the whole company to make this really deluxe package, and we just sort of crossed our fingers that it would sell, because it was so expensive to produce and it was so controversial. It's a very X-rated story about Wendy from Peter Pan and Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz and Alice from Alice in Wonderland, all living in this chateau in the Alps right before World War I and doing very adult things with each other. But it's a fantastic book, and we just really believed in it, and it absolutely paid off. We sold out through 2 printings within 24 hours. And really, I think, helped establish Top Shelf as a publisher of really fine work. And we've been delighted to work with Alan since then on The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which was formerly at DC Comics and is now with us. We have 1 volume out right now called 1910, which is a little mini graphic novel. I think it's about 80 pages. And there's going to be a 2nd volume following that called 1969, which will be out next year, which will bring the League characters that we know and love into the swinging 60s of London. Wow. So we're very excited about that one as well. And there's more projects with Alan down the road, the Bo Jeffries saga, and his magical grimoire called the Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic. So that's still a ways off in the works, but we couldn't be happier to be working with Alan. He's you know, beloved by all of us at Top Shelf, as well as all of you fans out there. So yeah, it's a real treat.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, what other books do you have coming up that you're excited about?
Well, one of the newest releases is from Eddie Campbell, who I mentioned earlier, his book Alec. This one is a book written by his friend Darren White. They previously did a Batman book together called The Order of Beasts. And this is them doing something very different. It's a romantic comedy called The Playwright. And we say it's a comedy about the sex life of a celibate middle-aged man. So it's a sort of this middle-aged guy who's actually a very successful playwright, but he's not all that successful as a man. And it sort of follows his journey to try to find love. And it is actually very sweet. It's got a real sort of dark British sense of humor, but underneath that is a real sweetness. And Eddie is working in full color in this book. He's painted the entire thing, and it's really luscious, sort of vivid colors here. Let's show you, see what am I? just part of the fun of the book is this juxtaposition of the drab interior life of the playwright and the sort of lush, vivid world of his imagination, as he's haunted by these sexual fantasies that he has so far been unable to act upon. So that one's really great. What else do we have? Jeff Lemire. Many of you may know him now from his series at Vertigo called Sweet Tooth. Essex County is his real magnum opus so far. It's really outstanding. We've had a lot of people reporting that this book made them cry. It's about family, primarily. It takes place in this community, Essex County, in rural Ontario, Canada. And it's sort of a fictionalized version of the community where Jeff grew up. It deals with themes of family and death and grief and betrayal and reconciliation and hockey. There's some excellent hockey scenes in here. And really just how sort of small town life works and how family can bring people together and pull them apart. It's a huge award winner, won the Doug Wright Award, the Joe Shuster Award, the Alex Award from the American Library Association. Really put Jeff on the map, and we're so pleased to see that his career is really taking off in a big way. He's going to do another book with us next year called The Underwater Welder, and he's had such success with Sweet Tooth and The Nobody, published by Vertigo, and now he's living his childhood dream and writing superhero comics at DC Comics. So if you haven't checked out Essex County, do yourself a favor. It's really outstanding.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for coming and talking to us.
Sure. And keep your eyes on tfaw.com. There's going to be tons of interviews and cool features and previews of new books.
Yep.
And we're really excited to be partnering with you guys and spreading the word of Top Shelf.
Yes, and we want you to spread the word too, okay? Thank you.
Thanks a lot.